Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Hitman Hideout podcast, the release incredulity. This episode is just us again, Reaper One and myself, timothymark. We've had a string of episodes with guests, which are all wonderful, but we thought we'd go back to an episode with just us this time.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to mix it up a bit, and I think it's only the pilot episode and episode 1 that just featured the two of us. So, we do like to just bring it back to the original format every now and then.
Yep.
Just to keep things a little bit different. Yeah.
Speaking of format, we now have a new format for the podcast. So obviously podcasts are originally just audio based, and we've had a video podcast for the past 5 episodes, but we are now on audio form on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really exciting. So initially, we originally wanted to launch the podcast with an audio version as well, but after doing some research, it quickly became obvious that it was going to cost money to obviously keep them hosted and to upload them each month. So we thought we'd go with the video format to start with because it's obviously free to produce and host. And based on the feedback we've gotten, we do have a little following, so we deemed it worth putting in the investment to create and host an audio version as well. And a huge shout out to all things Hitman channel members that are helping to support the channel, because that money that they're pledging every month, which I think includes you, Tim. So thank you so much to you as well. Thank you to yourself and the 9 or so others that are helping to support the podcast. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't know obviously I could use my own money, which I probably would have anyway, but it's really cool to be able to have and host an audio version purely from earnings from the channel. So really appreciate the support there. If you're a listener or you watch this podcast regularly and you enjoy it enough to want to help out a little bit, help us keep it hosted, you feel free to join the All Things Hitman YouTube membership. Click the join button in the video description, and I think it's only a couple of Australian dollars a month, $2 or $3, which is like €1. Not expensive at all. So it goes a long way. So,
and it's added up, so we now have an audio version. So
yeah, that's really cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So again, you can listen on Spotify or Apple Podcast and Google Podcasts. Yeah. And also, please make sure you rate it 5 stars, because that really helps. Recommend it to your friends. That'll help with the algorithm.
Algorithm loves that.
Yeah. We're kind of shamelessly promoting ourselves this week because
absolutely
there's no guest to plug.
I have my own promo as well. If you like me at all, I'm in another podcast just for one episode as a guest. It's called WoA Podcast. It's a podcast about as they say, playing and making games. It's a little small indie company of 2 people, and they've had this long-running podcast where they discuss all the games they make. And I'm actually in both that podcast as a guest, which we'll leave a link to it somewhere. You can check it out.
We'll leave a link in the video description.
Yeah,
sure. Pin comment.
I'm also in a game by them. I'm an actor in one of their games. They hired me to play a witness in the game called Internet Court. So Internet Courts, it's kind of like, if you know the game Ace Attorney, crossed with like a FMV game, like full motion video. So it's kind of like this right now, like a webcam style game about a court that runs online entirely. It was actually surprisingly all recorded pre-COVID. So there's no, it wasn't even recorded like as a response to COVID. This game was about, it's really hard to describe. I think you can check out a trailer. If you go on my channel, I've put the trailer up there. Check out the podcast. The guys that make the game, they really put a lot of love and effort into it, and they don't get many people buying their games, so it's on Steam and comes out in a couple of days. So I'd appreciate it if you checked it out. You don't have to buy it, just have a look at the trailer. So shameless plugging done, I think.
That's really cool, man. So they've been working on it for a couple of years. Are they from Australia or are they?
No, they're from the US.
Okay, yeah.
So I think I'm the only Australian in the game as well. So
really?
Representing Australia. Yep.
Yeah. Did you keep your Aussie accent?
Yes, I did. In fact, there's a secret Easter egg in the game where I discuss the Great Emu War, which is a classic war that Australia fought against the emus. It's a real thing. Check it out on Wikipedia or buy the game and hear my little monologue on it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So how did you... Sorry, we are going to delve into Hitman stuff, but we want to talk about this project that Tim was involved in. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so how did they find you or hire you?
Yeah, so I've been following their games for a little bit. I've tested a few of the games just for bugs and stuff, and they put an open call for auditions for some of the parts. Oh, cool. And yeah, if you want the deep, like the full story, you can listen to the podcast. But I pretty much just briefly, I just auditioned for a couple parts, and I got one of them. They liked how I sort of played the character and dressed and stuff. So yeah, it was really fun, really good experience.
That's awesome. And it's kind of cool that you actually appear in the game as well.
Yeah, it's actually my face. It's pretty much the same frame as well. I have a hoodie on, different curtains and stuff. Yeah, you'll see. It's quite good.
That's pretty cool, man. And what was the main premise of the game?
It's pretty much it's a game. It's like a courtroom game, but the courtroom is in everyone's living rooms because it's all on webcams, and you sort of have to solve each case, and you play as different people in the case, like the judge and the witnesses and stuff. It's quite good. It's a nice little indie game. Cool. There's 4 different cases, so you can do. I'm in case 4, so you can do 4 different little cases there.
Do you kind of play as like a jury member, or like are you kind of hearing all the evidence and then making a judgment?
You kind of play as multiple characters. It's hard to describe, actually.
Right. Without going into it too much.
Yeah. And it comes out in a couple of days, so if you look on YouTube, you can have a look at a couple playthroughs or something there and see if you like it. Because, it's a very unique game. It's very difficult to describe just verbally. So highly recommend you just check it out. Read the Steam description.
Yeah, definitely. I might even make a Let's Play video on it.
Yeah, go for it. That'd be great.
That'll be good for exposure, actually, hopefully. Yeah. Oh, congratulations on getting a part.
Thanks.
That's pretty cool. Is that the only bit of acting you've done in video games?
Yeah, that's the only thing in a game, yeah. Everything else I've done in my life is all on stage, so it's nice to be in a game. Preserved there, not just a one-off performance or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Because even though I've known you for like a fair few months now, I had no idea you'd done some acting in video games. So
yeah, I wasn't sure I could talk about it for a while, so I was like, maybe I'll keep my mouth shut a bit because I'm prone to
keep it humble.
Yeah. I'm not particularly humble. We just plugged ourselves for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now, on to the topic of the episode.
Hitman!
Obviously the release and graduality. In this episode, we're focusing on like an overview of how IO have marketed their game in terms of the release schedule. So obviously, throughout the World of Assassination trilogy, you've bought each entry, Hitman 1, 2, and 3, and then you get usually about 12 months worth of additional content. So whether that be elusive targets, new escalations, new maps, new unlockables, and also they have remodeled maps every now and then, such as most famously Sapienza. They created two or three bonus missions for that map in particular.
3.
Oh, and the sniper maps as well. So IO's been giving us, the player base, a lot of content, and so in this episode we kind of just want to discuss it, give our opinion of each entry, compare them, and also talk about the latest road that IO seem to have started going down, and kind of, I guess, voice our perceptions of
critique, criticism, perceptions.
So I suppose it would make sense to talk about them in chronological order. So shall we start with Hitman 1?
Yeah. So Hitman 1. So I've been around since the very beginning of Hitman 1, and I think Creepy, you joined halfway, or
I joined. 2? Yeah, I've been around since early 2017.
Yeah.
So I missed out on the first. I pretty much missed out on the first proper leg of. Well, they were still releasing maps in 2017, weren't they? Episodes, because when I first bought Hitman 1, they were only up to episode. They'd only were up to. I remember when I first bought it, Colorado was like just a few weeks away from release.
Okay, yeah, perhaps I can't remember the exact schedule, but perhaps that's true. Yeah, they did take a break between after Marrakesh and between Marrakesh and Bangkok, they took a break.
Right.
So that could have just pushed it a few months later.
Yeah. I think I bought the game in March of 2017 or February, and they still hadn't released. They still had Colorado and Hokkaido to go.
Yeah. Okay.
At that point.
Huh.
Yeah.
My memory's a bit hazy there, but what I do recall is that, like it was a nice surprise, I guess. Some of the things they did back then with their because at first like people were concerned about it being an episodic thing, which isn't a controversy anymore. People often widely see that as was a good thing, actually.
I think it deserves a lot of praise. I think that format, like releasing the game as like a TV series, was very, very revolutionary and a really cool way to do it, because it did bring the community together, put a lot of focus on individual levels. It was really cool for the community to come together and talk about one level in particular, and to share the journey. You definitely, as a community, you shared the journey in a much more in-depth way.
Exactly. It was very exciting as well.
Than getting the idea of exploring each level together and putting an emphasis on each map was, I think, the best thing that came out of that episodic model. Yeah.
The only thing we got close to that really is the since I feel like is the two new maps that were released as the expansion for Hitman 2.
Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah, I hadn't even ever thought about it from that perspective. So that's a really good point. Yeah.
So that was a nice thing to return to. It's like everyone was talking about the bank for a while, and then
totally. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a really nice thing to relive. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Hitman. I think the big highlight of Hitman 1's release for me was the surprise of the summer bonus missions, they were called at the time, which consisted of the icon and a house built on sand. Yeah, which were excellent. I still to this day, house built on sand is one of my favorite little missions. It feels like a little blood money mission or something. I love
that was the one with Abietti, right?
Abietti was the landslide. That was released later.
Sorry,
I believe.
A house built on sand, was that the Marrakesh level?
That was the night Marrakesh. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, sorry.
Mathieu Mendola and someone else. Yeah.
Oh, so they released, and then Abietti released later on.
Abietti was near the end of landslide. That mission, I think it was near the end of the release cycle.
Right.
But it shows just how much content they made for that game. Significant.
For season 1. Yeah.
Yeah. We weren't promised it. It just sort of came out for free.
Yeah. Which says a lot about what they're doing now, but we'll get into that later. I'm of the opinion, even though I missed out on the first half of Hitman 1, I'm of the solid opinion. And just going back to that episodic model, it's just such a shame that didn't work out financially.
Yeah, it was too much. Like, if you weren't playing it, it was too much of people got worked up over it. Yeah, lots of other episodic games are kind of rubbish, or they don't release properly, or they'll just stop releasing episodes. But
and I think a lot of people were perturbed by the fact that you didn't get the full package. Yeah, when you've paid like $60 or something. They
were worried that it wouldn't come out, or it wouldn't be good, or stuff like that.
And especially after Absolution, they just didn't have the faith in IO.
Which is fair enough. Criticism. Thankfully, it turned out good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think props to IO for being brave enough to give it a go. I think it was a very brave marketing move.
Oh yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It is a shame it didn't pay off. In my going back to what I was going to say before. In my opinion, from what I experienced of the second half of the release schedule of Hitman 1, I think it was definitely their strongest schedule of release content. Because I know we got the 2 bonus maps with Hitman 2, but with Hitman 1, we just got to... It seemed like they were sticking to their word more with what they were going to be releasing.
Yeah, it was quite consistent. Yeah. Nothing got dropped in the public eye. They probably got stuff that was cut in the studio, but everything they announced came out.
Yeah. Like with Hitman 2, you had Ghost Mode. It was complete shambles.
Mumbai just wasn't released as Ghost Mode ever, even though it was planned.
They obviously made... just the amount of elusive targets we got was really disappointing. The fact that they recycled Sean Bean a million times. The fact it was so... And although they never admitted to it, it was so obvious that they just revamped the planned elusive targets for Hitman 2 into special assignments.
Which is kind of lame.
Yeah, and then they also announced that Ghost Mode would come to every Hitman 2 map. It only ever made it to 2 maps, and then it was just dropped within like 12 months of Hitman 2 being over. Hitman 1 for me personally. And just the scope of elusive targets we got for Hitman 1 was just excellent. They seem to be... They seem to
almost got sniper maps. We should mention that.
Sorry. Hitman, we didn't get sniper maps for Hitman 1, did we?
No, it was just the 3 in Hitman 2, that was it.
Yeah. I think, and also just Hitman 1 seemed to be a much more polished game as well. Like, there weren't anywhere near as many bugs. They seemed to be more onto patching any issues.
I think there were a few issues at the end of the game, which they fixed in 2. Like, the view cones were abysmal.
That's right.
But they started off good. I think I've talked about this a few times. But, it's... Overall, though, it was pretty polished. There weren't a lot of, like, weird game-breaking stuff other than that, really, by the end of the game. Yeah. Whereas we still haven't got a proper fix for the, like, NPCs not going to the bathrooms. That's still not in the Hitman 3. So,
When did that become an issue? Was that during Hitman 1, or was that
Hitman 2 around the time of the bank, I think?
Okay.
Release? Right. Something like that,
Yeah.
So that was... Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. Do you agree with my opinion on Hitman 1 being the best, or the
I think it was the strongest package overall. Like, I think and
the most consistent.
Yeah. I mean, the 2 DLC levels, if it was just those that we were talking about in Hitman 2, they're very, very high quality content. But some of the other stuff was kind of like, you know, felt thrown together or just quickly made, or wasn't much budget behind it. I guess Hitman 1 probably had like Square Enix level budget, so that's something to consider. They probably had like millions more dollars to make stuff. But
that's true.
Definitely the most consistent package. Yeah.
And I have a feeling that after Squigsit they lost some like veteran.
Oh yeah, I think it was like half the staff or something.
Like I think that's why Hitman 2 and now Hitman 3 are so much less polished, just because they lost some seriously talented and experienced programmers. And I mean, that's sort of purely an assumption, but
you'd expect so. Thankfully, the maps are still good overall, and like the core parts of Hitman are good. It seems to be everything around it which is a bit shakier.
Yeah, that's so true. I think I still think Hitman 1... And also, one thing worth mentioning is they weren't going nuts with all the reskins back then either.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
your 50th knife.
We only had... Maybe with the items they were a little bit, but particularly, I think there was only 12 suits.
It was. And when a suit came out, it was almost an event. Like on the
it was
subreddit and stuff, everyone was like, "Oh, wow, new suit!"
Yeah, a new suit. It was a like a novelty.
Yeah. Now there are like you can't even scroll to the end of the suits; it just goes on and on.
Whereas like, you fast forward to now, not only are they not a novelty anymore, but you have to pay $7 to access them. It's like,
oh dear,
the difference in quality is just oh my god.
Whereas previously you'd unlock a suit from just playing an Elusive or something, just
You know in Hitman 3 how they changed that? They changed so you can unlock the default suit for each location with gloves just by getting mastery level 20 rather than completing elusive targets. Is that the same now for Hitman 1 and 2? Can you now unlock the default suits for those locations just by getting mastery 20? Because there'll be a heap of new people that have only just started playing Hitman with Hitman 3.
I'm not sure because I have everything unlocked, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah.
Good thought. I might have to look into that.
Yeah. If you're listening, please leave a comment, or if you're watching, leave a comment and let us know. If you're a new player, you've only just come on board with Hitman 3, are you able to unlock the default suits with gloves for each location from Hitman 1 and 2? That'd be interesting to know. Yeah. Because
it'd be a shame if all that stuff was just gone now.
Oh, yeah.
The gloves are so important.
Yeah, they are important. Yeah. You don't want to leave any traces of fingerprints. Covert assassin.
One thing worth mentioning is in Hitman 1 they had the Patient Zero campaign was released.
Yes.
I believe. Was it after Square Enix left, or
it was
maybe until raise funding?
Yeah, it was definitely after.
Mm.
It was after, yeah.
That
not too long after.
But that was a reasonably priced expansion, unplanned from the beginning, sort of just like, oh, we need to make something to get some funds. Let's make a very decently made, unique campaign. And I think it was really good. Like,
definitely.
They did some interesting ideas, like especially the mission Patient Zero is quite unique. In Hitman.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So,
and very fortuitous.
Yeah.
And also worth mentioning, the Sarajevo 6 that I think was Sony exclusive.
Yeah. I never played that because of the Sony exclusive thing, but you must have,
Yeah, being a PlayStation player, yeah. So that was obviously pretty cool bonus as well. I mean, I know it was only for like 1/3 of the player base, but in terms of variety of content and consistency, Hitman 1 takes the cake.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much to say there. I think, Hitman 2 was a lot shakier, although it had some really good stuff.
Shall we move on to Hitman 2 now, do you think?
Yeah. We've kind of like lumped them together a bit, haven't we?
We have a bit. I suppose, obviously, as you've already stated, the bonus maps were a huge highlight. And I like the fact that we were told from the get-go, pre-launch, we were told that if you buy the gold edition or the collector's edition, you'll get 2 bonus locations.
Yes.
So it was good that we were we at least knew what to expect.
Yeah. There wasn't surprise DLCs.
Yeah.
Coming out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. They were it was good value for the money that you paid as well.
Yeah, I agree. Just like, especially, I think I like the sniper maps personally, so I think that was a good like addition as well. And I even had some like little bits of fun with a couple of the special assignments, but they don't stick in my mind much.
No,
the real value was in the 2 new maps. The bank's now a fan favorite, so
yeah. The bank is now like up there as probably in the top 3 maps of the trilogy. So such a excellent piece of level design.
Yeah, the restrictions they put on themselves, like indoor maps smaller than usual, really enhanced, I think, the design of that level. And that was that can show like restrictions like that, like, oh, we have to make a smaller DLC in scope, can actually cause for really good design decisions and excellent content. It doesn't have to be scaled back to the most bare bones thing for the most amount of money. It can be smaller and better.
I think talking about Sean Bean as being an elusive target is worth mentioning a little bit more, elaborating on, because I think obviously they embraced his meme of always dying in his film, so he was like the perfect celebrity cameo for an elusive target, and that just created so much hype.
Yeah, that was so good.
It was such a good marketing move on IO's part. But then, obviously, after the first playthrough, or the first period that they released that target, that's when we first started seeing the signs of IO just recycling their content.
Here's all 2016 elusives again for ages. And then here's one Hitman 2 elusive. It's like... Yeah.
And like, it was a shame with the recycled Legacy Pack or Hitman 1 elusive targets. They seem to keep releasing the same, like, dozen as well.
Yeah, we didn't get, like... There was one interesting thing where they combined 2 of them into one. That was quite clever. Yeah, they should have done more stuff like that if they wanted. I feel like remix it a bit.
Because like, say the Forger, I swear they released him like at least 3 times, maybe
probably
4 times.
That was the first ever elusive, I think, as well.
Yeah,
we just kept bringing it back.
Yeah,
and there was a celebrity target in Hitman 1 as well.
Gary Busey.
Gary Busey, yeah. That's only showed up once ever. I guess the contract was only for like one appearance or something. But it's a shame that's gone forever.
Yeah. I wonder if it's
there were 2 celebrities in that. There was also Gary Cole. If you remember.
Oh, was it?
He was wandering around Sapienza as well.
No way. That's funny. I think that was before I bought the game.
Mm.
So that must have been in the first 12 months of Hitman 1 releasing. Yeah, that was before I was on board.
Yeah.
Did you manage to kill both of them?
No, you only kill one. So that before it came out, you had to vote on YouTube who was going to be the Elusive.
Oh,
and they had a feud, and then the other one,
okay.
I think the other one put a hit on the target that was chosen by the community. It's quite good.
Okay, that's excellent.
Yeah. So all sorts of creative things like that. Hitman 1. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, that just puts the cherry on the cake then.
Yeah. Definitely check out like a YouTube playthrough because it's quite funny. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Some good lines. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's in the code somewhere still. It would have to be, wouldn't it?
Hey, modders.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they don't like modders doing elusive stuff, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, you do got to be careful. Yeah. Yeah, and then also I think the biggest letdown for Hitman 2, the Hitman 2 release schedule was the obviously ghost mode not
really coming to fruition over time. It's sort of petered
because it had a lot of potential. One thing I do want to mention though, I was really impressed with the monthly roadmap trailers they used to make.
Yeah.
For Hitman 2 with Clemens.
They still do that a little bit, yeah.
Clemens they still do that a little bit, yeah. It'd be interesting to see if they keep that up for the seasonal content, but the scene.
Clemens is the best hype man ever. He's so. Oh no, he's the best.
They just get it. Each month they used to get more and more wacky.
Mm-hmm.
Like he started out all humble and he's like, "Come on, guys, you got to get this content." And then like by the end,
the hand movements.
By the end he was like wearing these Halloween masks and just going nuts. One time they even went like on location.
On like a beach or something, was it?
Yeah. But you got to remember this is in Copenhagen, so there's barely I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like
they're like standing in the Black Sea or something.
Oh,
his board shorts on. It must have been freezing.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, I think that was for the
promo. Clemens for that.
Oh. Yeah, taking one for the team for sure. I think that was for the promo for Haven Island.
That's even better.
Yeah, and
the contrast between Haven and
he was in like his watermelon slice board shorts. Come on, guys!
What a legend.
Yeah, so funny. Hopefully they. Now that we're getting the 7 Deadly Sins seasonal content, they'll probably won't keep up. They'll probably make the monthly trailers or the 6-week scheduled trailers more in theme with the.
Oh, we'll see, because he did do one for Greed. So.
Did he?
Yeah. Did you not see that one? Yeah. So.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. There's a pretty. I think there's a chance we'll still get them.
Yeah. Cool.
Hopefully they keep escalating again.
Yeah. So good. I wonder if he'll do the same thing for Project 007.
I very much hope so.
Yeah, like wearing a tux or something. Yeah.
All right.
So on to Hitman 3. Did you have anything else to say about Hitman 2?
No, I think we pretty much covered that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about Hitman 3.
Yeah. So there was definitely, between Hitman 1 and Hitman 2, would you agree that there was definitely a bit of a decline in consistency?
Decline in overall consistency with some highs.
Definitely not quality, but consistency definitely took a
consistency of that quality.
Yeah.
When they nailed it, they nailed it. But when they didn't, it was straight down.
And also they started to adopt the whole reskin mentality, which, there was nothing wrong with it really because we weren't charged any extra, but obviously the novelty wore off pretty quick.
I think the only reskin we've ever been charged for is the Requiem pack or something.
Yeah, true.
That was probably the one. Was that in Hitman 1? That maybe the one misstep of Hitman 1 is that $5 Requiem pack.
That's true, which is a similar price to what they're charging now.
Yeah.
For the Sins DLC content. One thing that's cool though, I think one of the few times I've actually listened to the community recently, or since they became independent, was they did heed our criticism regarding the constant reskins, and they did kind of make a bit of an effort with some of the unlocks in Haven Island to create some original items, such as the stabbing, the implement that you could use to stab
dagger
people
with poison.
Yeah. I that was good to see that they had listened at least a little bit.
Yeah, I like that sort of creativity.
Yeah, it was kind of like a hybrid item, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Had multiple uses.
Even in the we'll get into this soon, but in the Greed DLC, one of the item unlocks is quite unique. I don't know if it's
the cane or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that has some uses, and you can do some crazy stuff with it. But we'll get into why maybe that isn't particularly worth the price. Yeah.
Oh, can we please also, before we move on to Hitman 3, just briefly mention the Mark II reskin?
Oh yeah, which was Mark II reskin.
Just for the laughs, because it's so funny.
I might put on screen an
example.
A meme I made once of the Mark II briefcase. So if you're on the audio podcast, check out the screen right now, because we'll have something up, because the Mark II reskins.
Yeah.
So.
I think we're also making we're not providing a lot of context to a lot of what we're talking about. We're kind of assuming that people have been following the trilogy.
Good point. Yeah.
But for anyone that's kind of new to Hitman and you're listening or watching, for some context, when Hitman 2 first released, IO as unlockable rewards for completing challenges in the new maps just released all this content, all these weapons and items that already existed, and they were dubbed the Mark II version, and the only difference was a pink sticker had been slapped on the side of it with the number 2 obviously to symbolize Hitman 2, but it just instantly created a meme. And it was
what is this? It's so low effort. All right. Yeah.
I don't think the community were pretty good sports about it, though.
They went mad, really.
Because obviously we were taking into account IO's situation.
Yeah. If they're going to cut something, yes, cut skins. We don't really care about that as much as content. Yeah.
Yeah. But because they'd literally just been dumped by Square Enix, so yeah. They were doing what they could.
Yeah. Then they kept IO even leaned into the meme with the Mark II briefcase.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's a briefcase which when you throw it, it moves very slowly through the air towards whoever you've thrown it at.
Hitman 2, those little periods where they release those 2 bonus maps. Obviously, we've got some 2 kick-ass levels or maps, and we also got some great items, some great unlocks. They embraced the whole Mark II meme. We got those hybrid items.
They introduced the banana mechanic.
Yeah, true.
Which is good, which has kept going throughout the
now with the grapes in
the grapes.
I think they kind of almost they pretty much did redeem themselves with that content, the bonus.
Yeah, content. I think so. People were like, "What are these special Simon crap? What's all this?" But then, no, these maps are excellent. There's lots of interesting mechanics and items. I felt I was very happy by the end of that. Yeah.
And Haven Island, although the level design wasn't as strong as New York, from an aesthetics point of view, it was just
it's one of the best maps for aesthetics.
Yeah, and very original in its geography and topography. We haven't really had a map like that in Hitman before.
Yeah,
in any of the games, I don't think so.
Not really, no.
That was really cool and refreshing from that perspective. Now on to Hitman 3.
Hitman 3, all right. Yeah, Hitman 3. So, where do we start?
I've been pretty vocal about my criticism. I've probably been overly vocal about it. Why don't we talk about the good things first?
Okay, yes.
So I think, obviously, this time around, there was no collector's edition or anything.
No, there was a passport edition or something, but I don't know what that was.
For selected retailers.
Yeah, it wasn't really a collector's edition.
No, and that was only in certain countries, it wasn't available, say, in Australia.
Yeah.
But I think COVID that's probably why.
Probably.
COVID probably had a big impact on that. But yeah, instead we were offered the deluxe edition, which, what did that come with?
That was advertised as 6 deluxe escalations, but we didn't know what they were. And an item, 2 items with each, or something like that. A suit and an item with each escalation, I think was the promise. Yeah. And there was also a art book and a soundtrack release. Yep, digital, and all this is digital, yeah. And there was finally a director's commentary with each mission. Intro.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, actually.
I like them.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't listened to all of them so far, but there was some really interesting insight, behind the scenes insight.
I'd love if they added it like back into the previous 2 games as well. That'd be really cool.
That would have been so cool, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, some of the... So that was all that was advertised at the start. There has been some criticism, which I can't say is like invalid, that like the new content that was announced that cost money recently, the 7 Deadly Sins DLC, should have been included in the deluxe edition. I can see that point. I don't necessarily agree because, well, for me at least, I felt it was very clear what was in the deluxe edition, like scope-wise, I guess. I didn't know what the deluxe escalations were, but I knew that we were getting 6. So that particular criticism doesn't resonate with me personally. What do you think, Reaper?
No, I agree with you there. Like they definitely did state from the outset what was going to be included in the deluxe pack. So I don't think it's fair to say that deluxe owners shouldn't have to pay for this new DLC. I do think that deluxe owners are deserving to have
I would agree with that.
content for free.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that IO were wrong with the way they advertised the deluxe pack initially.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I think it's just more from the perspective of having not forewarned players from launch or pre-launch about the 7 Deadly Sins DLC. It's pretty evident from what we know that they've just kind of come up with it fairly spontaneously, and then not only that, but just charged basically the same amount of money that what players paid for the deluxe pack, which was fairly bare bones.
Yeah.
Again, we got what was advertised, but I think it would have been fairly better received had deluxe owners received a discount on.
I would agree with that.
Sins DLC.
Yeah. Like, you support us from the start. Here's some more content for a bit less, 50% off or something.
Like if the 7 Deadly Sins DLC was say half price for deluxe owners, I'd probably buy it. I'd still think it was overpriced a bit, but I'd probably buy it. I'd probably like, whatever. But at its current price tag, I just think it's far too much.
It's a bit exorbitant. Yeah.
Yeah.
The real, like, lots of other games do this sort of same model. So, for example, a series I'm familiar with is Far Cry, and they often have this thing of when they announce the new game, there's Far Cry, and then there's the Far Cry Deluxe, which is always just complete rubbish for like $30 extra of like, here's an extra car and gun. It's like, it's not worth this at all. No. But people always buy it. I don't know why. And then there's but at the same time they announce a season pass, which is always like 3 DLC missions or whatever, or maps. But they are always upfront that this is going to be the scope of content, and you can figure out what you're going to pay at the beginning. Whereas Deluxe, when Hitman 3 was announced, it was Hitman or Hitman 3 Base, Hitman 3 Deluxe, or and we didn't know that there was going to be another 7, maybe escalation, maybe missions, we don't know yet, DLC coming out, which was a bit, as you say, shifty. Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's 2 other factors as well. They've been very vague about what you're actually going to be getting. And I know they want to keep it, like, they want to make it a surprise for each reveal or whatever. But at the same time, with the current price tag, it's a lot of money to pay for something you have no idea about what you're actually going to be getting.
Absolutely.
And also, what makes it the current price tag even more unjustifiable, I've been tweeting about this for weeks, or pretty much ever since it came out. The fact that we're in the twilight of the trilogy. This is a trilogy that's reliant on the servers. It's online only to actually play the game properly. And to charge players this much money for this kind of content so late into the lifespan of the trilogy, like they haven't even addressed that issue at all with the community, which I think they definitely should have by now. Like, I'd rather know that we're never going to get an offline mode than to just leave us hanging. It's like, it's a lot of money to invest in content when you don't even know how long you're going to have it or have access to it.
Exactly. And that's the thing with escalations. I don't own this DLC, so I'm not sure. But I think every other escalation is online only, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's to say that these won't disappear when the servers go offline in 5 years?
Yeah, that's it. And
so that's very justified criticism. Absolutely.
Yeah. And people will, like, they might say, oh, but 5 years is ages. It is a long time at this point, but once that time's over,
when 5 years is how long it's been since 2016. So one of them, you're done. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I'm a fairly old school gamer. Like I'm sure you are too, Tim. Like I've been playing video games since the 90s, even. You know, from the Nintendo 64 days when you had a cartridge and you put it in. Once you buy a game, you have it forever. As long as your console holds out, as long as your computer holds out, you've got a game on a CD-ROM. It's yours forever. And it's just a bit tough for us older gamers to see. I mean, there's a lot of younger people that are just used to this kind of online finite format. But for those people that have been around a little bit longer, it is kind of hard to see games that you absolutely love.
They're not preserved for the future.
Yeah, they're not preserved for the future.
If you're not born now, that's it. Too bad. You don't get to play.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah.
And I think that's another fair criticism for all the time-limited content that IO are running with as well at this stage in the trilogy. Like, can't you just let us enjoy it for what it is?
Like one of the best new DLC pieces for the game, like free DLC, was the Berlin Egg Hunt.
Yeah.
And that's only around for a couple of weeks. It's like, what? This is like the best thing you've added in for a while. Why are you getting rid of this?
And they've clearly put in a whole heap of effort with it. Like they've completely reformatted all the guard routes and it's
map changes. There's all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah.
No, we'll take that away in a couple of weeks. Too bad. It's like, what? No. Keep this. Take your elusives that have been recycled 5 times away and give us this, please.
Yeah.
Big shame.
It is exciting that we're getting at least one new Hitman 3 ET.
Yeah.
I haven't even bothered playing the Stowaway, and I can't remember. Was it the Deceivers, the other one?
It's Deceivers and Stowaway, yeah. I did play them, but I just sort of like ran in, instantly did it because I already knew how to solve it. It was like, sell an assassin in 5 seconds. I know what's going on.
Yeah. So, I didn't even bother because I wasn't excited by them. And there's no unlocks either, so what's...
Yeah, because you've already got all the unlocks.
What's the incentive to play them?
But
for new players it would still be exciting. So you can't rule them out completely, but for those players that have been around a while,
the balance seems quite in favor of legacy recycled stuff. I feel like it was 50-50. That's more acceptable.
Yeah,
like we've only had two or three elusives that are all legacy stuff to one like new elusive so far, which is a shame.
Yeah, and another criticism I'll put to IO is that they just don't seem to be as communicative with the player base anymore. So there's several criticisms or things that community have been very vocal about for a couple of years now, and they've still, obviously the primary one being there's still no guarantee of whether we'll get an offline mode or not, and they still haven't addressed it, even though several prevalent members of the community, even like lots of smaller members of the community, doesn't matter who you are, lots of people have been voicing their concern about it, and it just hasn't been addressed. So again, I know I've already stated this, but I just think it's insane that they're charging that much money for content, like fairly vaguely described and limited content for a game. We don't even know how long we can have access to it. That to me is just the nail in the coffin. My respect for IO has gone down a lot, I'm going to be honest, especially with this DLC. Obviously, when I say IO, I mean the people that are making the big decisions. I don't mean all the other employees that put a lot of passion and hard work in.
No one should ever get mad at those like people actually making the like people just level designing or programming the game. It's not their fault.
No,
things being charged like this.
It's the head honchos that are making the big marketing decisions that are the ones that, and they're obviously telling the lower level employees you can't communicate with the community and all that. So
it's pretty normal.
Yeah,
it's a shame. It's all a big shame.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that, like in the game which people have been vocal about, which haven't fixed yet. Like in the recent patch notes, they said, the shoulder swapping's been removed. They said, we can't add it back in it yet. It's really difficult. And then some modder came in and did it in like a day. He re-added it back in. I'm like, hang on.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Have you seen CJ's tweets?
Yeah, CJ is on his little high rage, try and get him back every day. Hey, Travis, is that back in yet?
Yes. But he's like, got him.
Yeah, he's in good humor, but it's also true. It's great.
Yeah. I feel sorry. Like, again, I just want to do a big shout out to both Travis and Clemens, because they're obviously the main kind of point of contacts between IO and as a company and the community. And I personally have been very vocally critical of IO since the DLC has been a thing. So I just want to make it publicly known that, like, I don't have any personal dissatisfaction towards particularly Clemens or Travis. I think those guys are absolutely brilliant, and I really have a lot of high respect for them. Other people like them,
and the way they deal with criticism is very very good, and they don't deserve people to like go into their just like send them hateful messages or anything. No, that's really in bad taste. It's definitely, the criticism's definitely more aimed at those executive types.
Executive types that are making these kind of what I would say shifty or sketchy decisions that are kind of, I feel, taking advantage of young and in a lot of cases young and impressionable players that are going to reach for mum and dad's credit card to pay for this kind of content.
That's it. And the goodwill of players that have been here for 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a shame. If they like, for me, it's the offline mode thing which casts a big shadow over everything. I'd even I'd be more willing to forgive all of this stuff, even some of the like overpriced things, which not fully, but still, if there was an offline mode, we knew we could play it forever. It's like, okay, I can pay for this and play it forever. Fine, maybe I will, but it's
But the good thing is there's some members of the community that are already doing some amazing work to ensure that this trilogy does survive on PC at least. So I know we do have an idea for an episode that's going to focus solely on modding. So I think now is maybe a good way to just kind of quickly conclude our thoughts on Hitman 3 and the trilogy as a overall package in its release schedule. But there's some exciting stuff being done in the Hitman modding community that's, I think, going to ensure the preservation, longevity. I'll get into that in a moment. But overall, I think the last few weeks has definitely been the lowest point for me personally in the trilogy release schedule.
I think so. Yeah.
But
I agree.
The other thing is, though, there's a bit to come yet. They might surprise us.
We really still don't know, and this is part of the problem. We don't know what the DLC will have. It might have incredible content later that, and just start out with kind of like a weakish escalation mission. Like, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. I still hold hope that it will be creative and interesting, and maybe someday worth it. But I'm not giving up. But
no. But if they all turn out to be like the first one, obviously,
it's like
better off to wait till it's on sale at some point. Or
that's my current plan. I'm not interested at the moment, particularly in buying it.
No, well,
especially in Australia where it's overpriced massively.
Yeah, 100%. Like just the other day over Easter, it might even still be on sale. The enhanced. I think it's
HD
called
collection.
HD collection with remastered Blood Money and Absolution. That was always priced at 90 Australian dollars, which is a complete rip-off. But it was 70% off.
There we go.
It was only 27 Australian dollars, so I picked that up. That was my little pledge to IO to say I'm not completely critical of you. I'm not trying to boycott you or anything, but I'm willing.
Yeah, we don't hate you or something. It's just like, what are you doing?
Still willing to support you guys, but like. Within reason. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess to segue into the modding, I'm very hopeful for the modding scene of Hitman 3. I was not for the other games, but this one really seems like it's taking off now.
Yeah. Coddy released an interesting video the other day. He does these like monthly. I don't know if you've seen it, but he does these monthly recaps of. Or for the listeners or viewers that don't know, Coddy, one of the most prominent figures in the Hitman community, very prevalent Hitman veteran speedrunner and Hitman commentator, does these like monthly recaps of the release schedules. And his latest one for the March roadmap was really, really good. He put a huge spotlight on what the modders are already doing for Hitman 3.
Yeah.
Doing some commendable work to help create some preservation and longevity.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy mods. There's even a mod recently I saw that allows you to walk around the sniper maps and explore them, which is pretty cool. Because you always look, you're up there like, I just want to look at like what's behind those shipping containers, what's in that room.
Yeah. And as a console player, I'm so envious of the modding. I think I'm going to eventually have to buy a better PC and actually convert to.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
going to do some modding research and I'll report back to this podcast. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
We might do a modding episode at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we change the subject from modding, I just want to do a quick shout out to one of the All Things Hitman channel members. His name's Reese, and he and a small crew of modders have a little Discord that they invited me to join. I might leave a link to their Discord in the video description, actually, or in a pinned comment. They have this project going. It's called the Peacock Project, and they're actually creating. They're trying to create their own version of the servers, so that they can actually host the game themselves.
That's incredible.
In the event that IO Interactive, which they eventually will, of course, pull the plug on the servers. So, there's definitely different pockets of the community doing what they can to ensure that we never lose access to this amazing trio of games.
Once again, like, huge credit to how incredible this community is.
Yeah. It's like such an amazing. Like we've stated this in previous episodes. This community is just so amazing. There's so many talented people willing to sacrifice so much for their love of Hitman, which is just.
So it's like, look, you have this incredible community.
Yeah.
Don't let it go to waste.
Don't let it go to waste. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening, take notes. Yeah. So stay tuned for a deeper look into modding at some point.
Definitely.
Down the line.
Definitely. Yeah. It'd actually be cool to have a modder come on, wouldn't it? Someone that
we'll probably do that.
That
sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that basically summarizes all our thoughts on the release schedule. Before we move on to the mailbag segment to get some insight into what some of our viewers and listeners think, is there anything that you'd like IO to actually change or do for this kind of small amount of time we have left with the trilogy?
There's obvious things like offline mode and little bug fixes, but as in regards to content or like community feedback, I'd like their monthly live streams to return.
That's a big one.
I think that's why it feels kind of more corporate-y right now, is because we don't have the face-to-face or face-to-screen interaction with Clemens and Travis anymore.
That's true.
We can just like ask them questions in chat and stuff. It feels very. I know lots of us go to COVID. Like they might not even be at the offices right now. So like fair enough. But I'm missing that a lot. I really enjoyed those streams.
That's a really good point, actually. In fact, I forgot how integral those streams were in terms of creating a line of communication between the community and the devs. That's a really good point. And I think we did mention earlier, I stated when we were talking about Hitman 1 that was like the peak period of communication between IO and the community. But I completely forgot about those I didn't forget about those streams, but that just
slipped your mind then.
Slipped my mind. So throughout Hitman 2, they actually were quite good at keeping a line of communication open through those streams. Hey, that's
Hitman 1 had even more streams than Hitman 2 as well. So
oh really? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And there was there used to be another guy that worked there. I can't remember his name anymore, but he was very good as well. He did the streams.
Oh right.
But yeah, so that's probably in the community aspect. I'd like to see them, and in content, I'd like to see. I feel like I don't want everything to just be escalations now. I kind of understand why they're doing it. It's probably easier, and it's a way to tutorialize new mechanics or like unique things quickly. Like the first levels of an escalation is usually sort of getting used to a new mechanic in Hitman 3, but they don't have as much longevity as like an actual bonus mission.
No.
Honestly, if they it would probably cause more drama if they did this. But if they were like combined a few of the sins into one bonus mission, like maybe 2 targets represent 2 different sins, and then just release that as a mission instead of an escalation, I think that sort of like substantial content would impress me a lot more than like 7 more escalations or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, they might do something good and surprise me, but I don't know. The only escalation I've really enjoyed recently is the one with the straitjacket in Berlin. I haven't even finished it yet, but it's been really good.
Yeah, no, that was a really good escalation. Yeah, I only finished it yesterday, in fact, and all 3 levels were really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really utilised different areas of that map phenomenally well. Yeah.
Coddy also likes that one a lot. If you watch his newest video about March review
roadmap.
or something, March roadmap. He talks about how well done that one is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have anything you'd particularly like to see?
I mean, as you stated, like all the usual stuff, permanent ETs from the Legacy Pack, just more rounded releases of like just more stuff like the escalation we just spoke of in Berlin for the straitjacket. I just think the recycled reskin content is lazy, even at this late stage in the trilogy. I understand they want to put more focus on Project 007, but there's still a large player base that genuinely cares about the quality of this game or these games, and I just wish IO would kind of respect that a little more.
Just give us a discount at least.
Yeah.
It's like...
I also wish they were just more consistent with what they were going to release. I mean, consistency is really important in this kind of relationship between a player base and a dev, because you, as a player, you're a customer, and you want to know what to expect. You want to know what to look forward to and what not to look forward to. And when it's just released in the fashion that it has been of late, where suddenly you're just presented with something out of the blue, and you kind of like, hold up, what's going on, and then it kind of breaks trust a little bit. It kind of
I agree,
puts you on the edge of your seat a little bit as a player, and kind of just makes you lose faith in their kind of like ability or their cohesiveness as a team to produce content, because obviously at some stage when they must meet as a team, and they've got a whiteboard or something, whatever they use, and they come up with some kind of release schedule or plan for what they want to do, and when they just release stuff out of the blue, to me it seems there must be some things going on behind the scenes that aren't very productive.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's hard to tell. Yeah, that's the thing. It's either they weren't telling us intentionally, or they've suddenly made changes to how they're going to do things or decisions behind the scenes. And both of those are a bit troublesome.
Yeah, I just think last-minute choppy decisions are not a good sign for, I don't know,
quality content.
Yeah. But anyway, I still respect IO immensely, like as a company, and I
the good they've done over the years outweighs like
the bad. Yeah, for sure.
The recent criticisms we have. But they're still valid criticisms.
Yeah. Shall we move on to the mailbag segment?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So the question for this episode was obviously in theme with monthly content coming from IO surrounding Hitman, And it was, so we asked viewers and listeners, are you happy with Hitman 3 monthly content thus far? How could IO Interactive improve, or what can you commend them for doing well? And that obviously also encompassed the 7 Deadly Sins DLC.
Yes.
Not just the deluxe pack and the standard base game.
No. So we've got a variety of answers here. Yeah.
Okay, we kind of wanted to get a mixed bag of opinions, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ingvar stated, I personally am. Not much to say, really. I've been enjoying the Hitman 3 escalations, unlike my experiences with the H2 ones. I'm also happy with my purchase of Act 1 of 7 Deadly Sins. $3 would be a more fair price in my opinion, but they have to make money, I suppose. I don't think the legacy ETs were that bad. Glad we're getting a new one now, however. Featured contracts, never really cared about them that much. I suppose I should for the challenges and my lost progress, though. I'm expecting it to slowly get better and better over time, as it did with H1 and H2. Hitman 1 and Hitman 2.
Yeah. So I agree with the pricing there, definitely. Should have been a bit cheaper than it is.
Yeah.
But it's good you're enjoying it, Ingvar.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's good that at least some people think it's worth purchasing.
I mean, I haven't played it, so I still can't judge the gameplay. It just doesn't seem like it would be worth it to me.
No.
In Australia, it's like $7 something, so a bit pricey.
Yeah. I think there was something they stated there. Oh yeah, I think just the last line. I'm expecting it to slowly get better and better, which, to be fair, I think that is a good analysis of the monthly content that we got with, certainly for Hitman 2 and probably Hitman 1 as well. It did get better over time. I mean, the deluxe escalations have been good. Yeah. I've enjoyed every single one.
Particularly that last one, I think. The last couple I really enjoyed. Yeah, they're not... definitely were improving as they were making them. So hopefully that translates into the 7 Deadly Sins. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the Berlin Egg Hunt was a highlight. I think the only criticism there was the time-limited aspect of it.
Yeah,
but,
why?
Yeah, but and it was free. So I also made Dubai free for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they did. Dubai, I think it's finished now, but Dubai was free recently for all players to test out, which is good. It's good, yeah.
That's
brings
good.
in new players.
Yeah, definitely.
Last thing I want to say here about Ingvar's comment is they said featured contracts, they never really cared about them that much.
I'm the same.
Yeah, pretty much agree. I've played a lot of them just whenever I feel like playing something, but they are not made by game designers usually, so it's often just kind of like lackluster. Occasionally you get a really good one, but I wish it was more... They're all like sort of brand tie-ins now.
Yeah, like to Game Informer. And
yeah. I wish they'd do like community member tie-ins, like here's Coddy's featured contracts, here's CJ's featured contracts, that sort of thing.
I noticed Urban even commented recently on one of IO's tweets advertising the latest round of featured contracts coming from one of those gaming media companies, and he kind of said, "When's it our turn?"
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
well,
because we used to have used to be able to submit contracts and stuff to get featured.
Yeah,
I don't think they're doing that at the moment.
No, and the community's gonna. Let's be honest, the community's gonna produce way better featured contracts than these media gaming employees that have probably only ever played Hitman on a very kind of surface level.
Yeah, like
aspect.
I feel like I could easily make a contract better than most of these just because I've played the game for 1,000 hours. So
yeah,
it's like why are you giving it to random journalists? They're not game designers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the cash.
Yeah.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching. Anyway, thanks Ingvar for your comment. I have one here from Kakias, and they say, I honestly don't really have an opinion yet, as it's been only 2 months so far, but I'm optimistic. The Berlin Egg Hunt and the Seitu Mare Delirium are a step in the right direction and a step in the right direction, and IOI for sure will re-release all the cool content we've had in previous years. I really hope so, yeah. Like the seasonal events and the Mills Reverie. I'm also going to be... the Mills Reverie, just in case you don't know, is the Halloween escalation in... what's it called? In New Zealand. Hawke's Bay. And that was an excellent escalation. One of the best, yeah. I'm also going to be optimistic about the prospect of the Hitman 3 elusive targets. So far, 3 have been leaked in the code, and they've chosen great maps, with Dartmoor being first, followed by, and I won't say the other ones, just because they are currently leaked content. But yeah, Dartmoor is confirmed. That's me saying that. Hitman 3 live content is going to be unpredictable due to COVID, but I'm sure IOI will deliver some great stuff, along with some probably lesser great stuff. Yeah, pretty balanced opinion there. IO is good at leaking things in the code by accident. Yeah, I just won't read it out publicly here, but yeah, it's not hard to find. Yeah, I think optimism, like cautious optimism, is my current sort of like mood towards Hitman 3.
I'm the same.
Yeah, and I feel like it's pretty encompassed in this. And I agree with the like strong points you mentioned, the Sotto Magillerium, the Berlin Egg Hunt, and things like the Mills Reverie have all been very creative uses of Hitman formula and twists on it. So, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it's been leaked, I guess, now that there are more than one... There's more than one Hitman 3 elusive target, so that's good news.
Yeah, that is good news. It still seems far too few, though.
Yeah, I hope it's more than 3.
Yeah, I mean, each entry tends to get like at least a 12-month commitment from IO of releasing content, and so you'd think that would enable us to have at least 12 elusive targets for each new entry, but unfortunately that's just never materialized since Hitman 1, so I suppose we got like a really, really good number in Hitman 1, so the fact that we haven't received as many in Hitman 2 and 3 is like...
I would have preferred if they just cut them and put that money into other content if they really couldn't sort of like bring it up to par with Hitman 1's level. Because Hitman 1, obviously they had a huge budget, like probably far more than the other ones, and more people. So like, and I feel like elusives are a very, like the amount of resources you have to put in to make one of them, like hire voice actors, get all the artists to make new characters, change all the levels and stuff. There's a lot more work than the payoff. I feel like these days they're kind of getting old now. Yeah. So, yeah. I
mean, after 5 years, especially. I mean, they were already stale throughout Hitman 2, so
yeah. And I'm too good at Hitman now, and that is too easy. It's like you have to make them easy because they're designed, I guess, to draw in new players. Like, see the article, time limited content. It's like, oh, I better buy it. But I don't know. I find I'm too like. I think most veteran players are too good at Hitman these days to have a real challenge playing.
No, it'd be good if veteran players had been rewarded with permanent access.
That would have been good, yeah.
You know, or like a loyal kind of like, because they've rewarded loyalty a lot in the way of, you know, certain suits and items. So it's a shame they haven't done the same with elusive targets. Yeah, because then it would keep both parties happy. You know, new players would get to.
It'd be good if you've played it before, you can play it anytime, and then if you have to wait till it comes out again, and then if you play it then. You get to just keep playing it over and over. And then maybe at the end of the cycle, they just release it for everyone. So there's a bit of reward there, but nothing's locked out forever for anyone. Yeah.
Or if your purchasing history was linked to your IO account.
Yeah, that'd be good. That
way they could track like what you've purchased, when you purchased it, and if they can evaluate that, oh, this guy's been around since Hitman 2016, let's give him access to X, Y, and Z at elusive targets on a permanent basis. But we can still make them time limited for new players to help draw. Yeah, you know,
something like that's a creative solution. Yeah,
yeah, and then it would keep both sides of the player base happy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately the reality of the situation is we're just too far into the trilogy now for any like real changes. Changes can be made at this late stage, but the payoff's not going to be very beneficial because it's we're almost at the end.
Yeah, the formula's pretty set in stone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least they can take a lot of this and apply it to future games, such as Project 007. And
I really hope Project 007 takes all of these lessons and just has that big budget to really push it to the next level. We'll see what they do, but
and just be consistent.
Yeah. Consistency. You're so right. You keep repeating that and you're very right.
Yeah, because consistency will definitely produce better quality content.
Yeah.
Or at least the player base will know what to expect. My second one was... Okay, so my second entry is from Len.
Mm-hmm.
And they stated... He's stated, not a happy Hitman over here. Although I do want to support IO for creating great games like Hitman, I think they are becoming an EA kind of company. The content they have released thus far wasn't up to par with the bonus content they have released earlier, and their latest actions, charging a lot for content that should have been included in the deluxe edition, doesn't give me a lot of hope for the future. I'm a simp for anything that's Hitman related, so I've bought the latest DLC, but IOI's business decisions makes me hate their company more and more. Hate's a strong word. Has something changed, or were they always like this? This whole paid DLC thing reminds me of how IOI offered Hitman 3 preview copies to heartless streamers with a huge following, while the people who kept Hitman alive all these years, such as Big Mooney and others, had to wait until the official launch day before they could start releasing H3 content. IOI really forgot how to be awesome.
So very critical, this comment, obviously.
Yeah. I wouldn't say, like, I hate IO Interactive by any means.
No, I'm not anywhere near that person. Yeah.
No. But obviously everyone's, like, going to take IO's business decisions to different degrees, and so we still have to respect Len's opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they've raised some valid points, though. Like, that's very true about the giving these bigger streamers that don't care about Hitman early access.
Exactly.
Many of which broke their non-disclosure agreements as well, and
caused a bit of chaos there.
Yeah,
because they don't have any like connection to IO really. They're probably just like, oh, what's the newest game to stream? Hitman. All right, stream it now. Whatever. It's like, I feel like, and people in the community would have definitely respected that.
Yeah. So there are all these spoilers coming out like 2 or 3 days before release, which was obviously hugely annoying for the Hitman community because most of us want to go in blind. I remember I had to stay offline for the first 48 hours pre-launch because I didn't want to encounter any spoilers.
Yeah, I actually removed so many spoilers from like the subreddit and stuff. It was rampant just because people were like trolling with it. They were just like watching the streams and spamming like big death spoilers and stuff. It's like just don't do that. It's a big shame that I don't know, they couldn't get to give the keys to people more. Like smaller streamers would have been much more respectful, I think. Yeah, definitely. I understand it from a marketing point of view, but still,
what else did Len mention?
They said they think they might be becoming an EA kind of company. EA is notorious for
microtransactions,
and I don't think they're anywhere near EA's level personally. They did stuff like, if you want to be Darth Vader in this game, it costs like $100 or whatever.
$100,
yeah, stuff like that.
God, that's so
there's games like Train Simulator, which is like $4,000 to get all the DLC. So there's a big industry issue. And I don't think they're anywhere near the worst.
No, definitely not. From the sounds of it, I didn't know the extent of it. That was that.
Oh bad. It's bad. But still, we can still. That doesn't negate any criticism, I think.
No, definitely not. I mean, you could say that there's hints that they maybe can't go down that road.
Yeah. We hope not, but we'll see. Yeah. If they get to the $100 Darth Vader level of bad, then...
Yeah, I don't think they'd be able to, though, because IO don't have that following. Many Hitman fans are quite... obviously that kind of behaviour from developers preys on young, impressionable fans that again, will reach for mum and dad's credit card. But I think most Hitman fans are a lot older. Because
20s and 30s generally, and then some like teenage new players, I think, as well.
Yeah. So most of the player base aren't going to fall for that kind of marketing ploy, and
really.
I think if they did start to go down that road, they'd quickly. I mean, it might work with 007 because obviously that's a much broader franchise and more popular mainstream franchise than Hitman. But I don't think it would work with Hitman.
No, the play base is too small and connected, I think, to stand to something like that. They get considering how much they get roasted for this. I mean, if they went to that level, that people would abandon ship, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and just let the modders take over.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for your comment, Len. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your comment, Len. Appreciate your opinion. Even if we disagree with some parts, I think you have decent opinions overall.
Yeah.
And final comment for today, Sniffle Blocks. They say, I'm happy for most of the monthly content so far. I have always been good at their monthly content, giving more free post-launch content than most companies, which is always good. This game especially, I've been working on completing everything each month. I just miss the challenge packs. I haven't got the deluxe edition or 7 Deadly Sins pack, so I don't know what those are like from my own gameplay. But from what I've seen, they actually seem quite fun. The developers still put a ton of work into those. It's just the fault of some marketing and finance people at IO who don't seem to know what they're doing, considering how the access passes are also very expensive, and considering that the Hitman 2 Gold Edition is usually on sale for around €10, but the access pass costs far more. I still like what all of the devs are doing, and whoever is in charge of the free content coming out, I'm not going to lump them in with the people setting the strange prices. Yeah, pretty much. It is definitely whoever calls all the shots at IO is the one who we're griping at for the most part. I think the developers, as we've stated previously, developers putting out the paid and free content are still doing lots of hard work to get out there.
Yeah. It's obviously, I think the vast majority of people that work at IO are still doing a fantastic job, and obviously have a lot of passion for Hitman. You'd have to want to work at IO.
for 3 consecutive games, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, I think Snifflebox is definitely accurate there with their kind of like
analysis of the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's always, I think it's always important to separate people making decisions from developers, because lots of, like, especially in like game and film communities, I've noticed lots of people get really riled up at creative people behind things, but it's usually the business decisions which are causing the issues. And an artist is not controlling the price of a game. No.
Yeah, it's very important to make that distinction.
Yeah.
And to not kind of vilify those that. Yeah, it's like blaming it's like harassing and blaming an actor for. Like a prime example is The Last of Us 2, when that voice actress that plays Ellie, or whichever character it was that was unpopular amongst a lot of players.
Yeah.
I can't even remember who it was, and then, she had to leave Twitter, I think, because she was being harassed and vilified so much.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like they're an actor, they're not the character they're playing.
Yeah. I mean, you having been an actor yourself, in a video game, like, imagine.
On stage I've played some very despicable characters, and I'm like, if I go out and greet people afterwards, they're not mad at me for being bad in the play. It's like, no, that's not how, you wouldn't be that in real life, so don't do it online either.
Yeah, precisely.
Even this also goes for if you follow someone who does like business stuff at IO on Twitter, don't harass them. You can't harass anyone. It's just it's a game still.
Yeah.
Overall, it's like you can say your criticisms to them, but there's a line.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Snifflebox definitely knows that.
It's good that they recognise the amount of work that they would have still put into this content. Like what you say, all the character artists and the programmers and the level designers and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still lots of work put in.
It's just more the the business side of things.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the transactional. That's where the issue lies.
Yep.
But yeah, that pretty much summarizes the mailbag segment. So thank you to everyone, as always, for contributing your input, your opinions,
absolutely,
into the question posed. Again,
it's always appreciated.
Yeah, always highly appreciated. Again, we always apologise for not broadcasting everyone's answers, but obviously that's an impossibility because we'd be here all day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you like to read them though, if you like to read everyone's answers, you can check out the mailbag, podcast mailbag section, and then you can also discuss that in the podcast discussion section of the Discord.
Absolutely, and a link to the Discord is in every video description. So it's also, if you're listening to the podcast, there should be a link to it in the podcast or episode description as well. So make sure you join. Yeah, if you want to get involved in the discussion, and have a chance of getting aired on the podcast, your answer aired, make sure you contribute. Yeah. We try and share everyone at some point or other.
It's a pretty good chance if you're new that you could get your answer on the podcast. Yeah, just don't be afraid to come along and share your opinion.
Yeah. And also don't forget that there's also a guest pool text channel as well on the Discord. So if you're interested, if you consider yourself quite knowledgeable on a particular topic of Hitman, whether it be mechanics, speed running, lore side of things, any aspect of Hitman really, if you have a talent, if you can make a perfect silver ball or replica, we'd love to hear about it. So don't be afraid to spruik yourself or advertise yourself on there. We're interested in hearing from all the different colourful characters that this wonderful community has to offer. So
exactly, as you saw with last episode, we got Xavier DJ on to give his as a guest host. So he's his community member, so he knows a lot about the lore. So pitched himself to us, and
if you're we would be interested in doing a future episode on modding. So if you're a Hitman modder, we'd love to hear from you. Please speak up in that text channel.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks.
Because obviously we so far we've been asking people to come on when we want a particular kind of guest, but obviously it can be a lot easier for us to find people to come on if those that are interested have presented themselves. And so we'd love to hear from you. Just before we go, I think I'll just quickly plug the audio version of the podcast again. We now obviously have an audio version, so Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can listen to us every episode to date on there, and obviously the video version here on the All Things Hitman YouTube channel. If you're listening to an episode, you can watch the visual version on YouTube. Anything we wanted to summarize or add before we go?
I think that's all. I'm hopeful for the future, and we'll see what happens. We'll always keep you updated.
Yeah, definitely.
Happens.
Definitely. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting time or phase in the trilogy, isn't it? It's kind of you get the sense that things are really kind of starting to wind down, but at the same time, conversely, there's still a lot of content to look forward to from IO.
Exactly. Yeah.
Theoretically speaking.
Yeah. See what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Right.
And don't forget to leave feedback.
Yes, please. Feedback in YouTube comments, or I don't know if you can leave feedback on podcast apps. I don't think so.
I don't think you can, but you can leave a rating. So if you enjoy the podcast, if you even just telling it, if people always ask each other, what's a good podcast to listen to? So use word of mouth. Feel free to tell your friends about us. Even if they're not into Hitman, it might just be something that people are always developing new interests and new hobbies. So
maybe they'll like the discussion episode on when we first reviewed the game could be a nice episode, because then maybe they're interested in the game after that. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everyone for listening or watching, and see you all next time.
See you next time.